Hello Facebookers, it's Donnie again, and guess what? It's time for another status update. Now, if I'm sounding a little peeved, it's because I've been looking through the posts on a certain forum that I visit, and it's actually interesting. When I visit these forums, I tend to go there as sort of a, I don't know what you would call it, an urge to gain knowledge of some kind. And usually what I find there is so stagnant and depressing. It's so insanely hypothetical and doesn't deal with the best way I could put it is that the forums that I frequent deal with issues in a very hypothetical, emotional, moral sort of way without offering any tangible or real solutions. And I think that's a big problem when it comes to a lot of forums, this one not being exclusive. So, anyway, while I was browsing these forums, I came across this innocent-looking post, or thread. If you've gone to forums, they're called threads, these discussions that people post on there. And it was titled, Hypothetical. Now, the interesting thing is that I expected this to be your basic hypothetical question, like, hypothetically, what would happen if the world burned? Ha 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 ha, all that shit. But I think this one had a little more promise. I'm going to read it off to you. Inoue writes, let's say, hypothetically, the majority of people were insane. Let's talk about what that world would look like, because I think it will serve as an allegory for the point I'd like to make. Because I'm not very eloquent. Would they lock the same people up in mental institutions? What would the architecture look like? How would we dress? Those kinds of things. And while I can understand Ginoue's issue with this question, I guess it was one of those questions that she expected to be like, everyone's going to post and be like, oh, this is what it would be like, oh, whoa. But you guys who have been frequenting me on Facebook already know that I'm not your, what would you call it? I'm not your average replier or your average speaker. I like to go into weird, not unethical things, but things that would disturb people even though they're true. So I posted my response, and I'd like to read it off to you, because I really think it is a great perspective on what the world would be like if it's insane. And if it sounds a little familiar, maybe there's some looking into that needs to be done. Yeah. So let me go ahead and read that off to you. Now, keep in mind, this is a response to the question, what would the world be like if it was insane? And this is my response. If the world were insane, the world's success and progress would be governed by little pieces of paper that everyone pretended had value. Instead of letting everyone speak for themselves, there would be these puppeteer people that we vote for, only the vote wouldn't really matter at the end. There would be enormous battles despite eons of asking for peace. More money would be put into fighting than producing. Giant war machines would dominate the landscape. Murder would be commonplace and sanctified under the order of those puppeteer individuals mentioned before. The worst part of this would be that most people wouldn't want any of it, but they would keep going with it anyway. Protocol and form would be more important than progress or reason. Profits would drive the thinking, and imaginary debt would rule the lives of countless people who would be duped into believing their paper is worth anything at all. Where common sense would say to forgive all debt and start over, the insane world would feed debt, thrive off of it, and die without it. There would be buildings tearing into the sky, gigantic and ominous, bearing names of people who do not exist, and containing space for inventions that nobody needs. The cult of brand would be the only religion, and it would have a lot of names. This insane world would pour money into giant structures that make the area appear overcrowded, when there is really enough space for everyone. This insane, psychotic, and nonsensical world. There is one thing that makes this insane, psychotic, and nonsensical world more insane, psychotic, and nonsensical than most hypothetical universes like DC Comics, let's say. The most insane part of this world, with its imaginary debts, and its houses for companies that are not people, and its nonsensical wars, is real. It's right now. And somehow, it hasn't destroyed itself yet. And if you guys don't think that's crazy, I'd like to sell you some oceanfront property in, you know where I'm going with this. Peace, guys.